if we don't get to that root of where the problem came from, and for most people, there is an emotional component, we're never going to get that resolution. So, you probably remember from Body Talk that kind of that idea of top-down causation. And I'd love to just kind of explain to
Mm.
people what I mean when I say that. So things don't just start in our physical body. Things start at like higher levels of causation, creation, whatever you want to think of it as. So things start first in kind of our mind and our consciousness with our thoughts, our beliefs. It cascades down into kind of our emotional body and how we feel, how we experience things, then into the energetic layers of us, our meridians, our chakras, all of the things that you may have heard of. And then it lands in the physical body.
Mm.
So kind of like what you were saying, you started out with kind of a very physical approach. You came from the fitness industry. And, like with my story of my knee, I tried to fix it in a fairly physical way,
Mm.
but it wasn't caused by anything physically. So if we're trying to fix it at the physical level and it's not simply just, like you twisted your ankle or your knee, and there's probably still other layers to that. Why did that even happen?
Mm.
Then we're never going to get there. So, we really have to, if someone's dealing with chronic pain, chronic illness, we have to get to where did it come from? And a lot of times, what I see with people is women with autoimmune conditions that cause pain have trauma in their
Mm.
past.
Mm.
One of my teachers from the Body Talk system, I remember her talking about almost everyone with autoimmune that she'd ever seen had birth trauma
Right.
to start
Interesting.
with, in just their birth experience.
Mm.
And in that experience, in the first 2 weeks of our lives, it's like our immune system is still learning what's me versus what's not me, because we
Mm.
came from inside our mother and, have to kind of tolerate that environment and different cells that are not ours. So when we're coming outside and there's a trauma and we're still learning like what's me, what's not me, if you had birth trauma, that's your immune system is going to reflect that. And
Mm.
that's often why, we need to work at that level in order to heal.
Mm. So what do you see as the connection between, let's say an emotional trauma and physical pain? Like, why do you think that we experience physical pain as a reaction, if you like, to emotional trauma?
I think, again, our minds and our bodies are heavily interconnected. And so, whatever we've experienced mentally, emotionally, that we haven't been able to, cognitively process, or however we need to process it, the body is actually like a storehouse. Like,
Mm.
that's how we're designed. If you look at like the work of Candace Pert and how she talks about emotions getting stored, like
Mm.
actual physiologically what happens, the chemicals that are emotions, the neuropeptides, get stuck in the body. And I think that explains the trauma piece pretty well. Is when you have trauma, you have all these emotions, you have all these chemicals coursing through your body. And most of us, when we have trauma, we don't really know how to process it in the
Mm.
moment because it's trauma and we're in that experience. So then it gets stuck in the tissues of the
Mm.
body.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I I guess the best kind of explanation, if you like, that I've come across is that, obviously if you've had an emotional trauma, quite often it's subconscious. It's
Mm-hmm.
so painful, you bury it, because to bring it to your conscious mind is too painful.
Yeah, too much.
But then what physical pain is, to one degree, is the subconscious mind making the conscious mind aware that there's something not right,
Exactly. Yeah,
that it needs to be aware of and it needs to address.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's how I view what happened with my knee, right? My
Mm.
mind was and my body were trying to get my attention to what happened, and that I did need to take some way of processing that, and
Mm.
it happens on, that was just like a smaller scale trauma than, maybe somebody who was abused for
Mm.
most of their childhood,
Mm.
or, suffered some horrible experience of rape or assault. I mean,
Mm,
that's a huge thing for people to process. And again, like you said, the subconscious mind and the mind in general is trying to protect us and bury it.
mm. Yeah, because again, the way that I look at pain is that pain is a messenger system. So you had pain in your knee, so the nervous system was picking up the pain signal,
Right.
transferring that signal through the spinal cord to the brain, and the brain's like, oh, there's something going on with the knee. I need to do something about it.
Right.
And obviously, your brain said to you to go and see the chiropractor and maybe get, other physical treatments, but actually, that's not what the pain was trying to tell you.
Exactly. Yep. And it took me 3 months to remember that I had met somebody who said, "Oh, I do this thing called body talk" the year before. And, I'd never tried it before, but
Mm,
from her explanation and even just the name body talk, I was like, I feel like my knee, and I got to the point, I felt like my knee was talking to me, but it felt like it might as well be speaking Japanese,
mm,
and I, I don't speak Japanese. So
mm.
what is it saying? I don't know.